All right. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Post-Game Show presented by BetUS. We have our first real bummer of a game of the season. Obviously, only the second loss. I would not categorize the opening night loss to Boston as a bummer. That was just that was more of a monstrosity than anything else. You put it behind you as soon as you got done with it. This one hurt a little bit. This one hurt a little bit, mostly because I think the Knicks did not come out playing their best ball, certainly, which we will get into, but they still found a way to have a 13-point lead in the third quarter, and then they just let it completely evaporate. And the reason why they let it evaporate, and I saw James Edwards already tweeted about this from The Athletic, is because they went through a stretch of basketball in the late third quarter and early fourth quarter where they just couldn't generate anything resembling efficient offense. And yes, I've been talking for a few minutes here at the top, and I haven't mentioned the name Karl-Anthony Towns, even though obviously the story of the game is the fact that Karl-Anthony Towns until he took a meaningless two-pointer with like 5 seconds left that meant absolutely nothing. Took the same amount of shots in this game as Campaign. If you have Campaign on your basketball team and you have Karl-Anthony Towns on your basketball team, needless to say, as I realize Mike is not selected, hopefully that sounds better. Needless to say, you need to have Karl-Anthony Towns shooting more than Campaign, especially considering the fact that Campaign played 10 minutes in this game, and Karl-Anthony Towns played 32. And here it is, 4 for 8. And again, one of those meaningless one at the end. This is not why the Knicks traded for Karl-Anthony Towns. This is not why any team trades for any transformative offensive player. And I think that's where I kind of want to sit for a second. Because we've talked, certainly me and basically everybody who watches the Knicks and cares about dissecting the Knicks, about Karl-Anthony Towns and the impact that he has on this team and obviously specifically this offense, although we're going to have to talk about Karl-Anthony Towns' defense too in this game because it factored in and not in a positive way. It wasn't all bad, but the most significant part was not positive. I use that word, others have used that word, transformative. And I think we've seen that. I think we saw that in all three games. I think we saw it at times tonight. The tough part about having a player who simply by being out there, simply by existing on the court, changing everything that you're capable of doing on the offensive side of the floor. The tough part then kind of comes with, okay, we got all these new toys. What do we want to play with first? And I'll try to take the analogy a step further. These aren't pre-assembled toys. This is Christmas morning and Dad's sitting there with the screwdriver looking like he wants to put his head through a wall because all of these things, again, require assembly. And this offense, I think it was pretty clear after this game, requires a little bit of assembly in that they need to figure out when this guy's on the floor and it opens up all these other things for all these other guys, well, what does that look like for everybody else, first and foremost? Because tonight, it basically looked like we're just going to matchup hunt. And DJ Zulo tweeted out about it during the game that he didn't think he'd ever seen a Knicks team hunt matchups like this, and that makes sense because there's never been a Knicks team that had the capability to hunt matchups like this. And so that's what they were doing. And the result of that, though, was the offense was getting really stagnant. And even when they were up at 13, and you can anybody watching along on our the KFS YouTube channel, because we did our watch along tonight, can attest to this. I said at the time, I said, I don't feel great about this game. I don't feel like the Knicks have been particularly good. I thought they were up by that many points because through that portion of the game, they were the more tenacious team. I haven't mentioned Josh Hart's name yet. He was certainly the best Knick tonight. We hope he's okay. And yet there will still be people who will question his impact on this team and how he impacts winning. I I don't know what more this man could prove. There, as far as I'm concerned, their chances of winning this game went out the window when he had to leave because he couldn't. I mean, he just couldn't hold up because he had hurt his knee. I sure hope Josh Hart's okay for Wednesday, or at the very least, he's not out for long. But that was so much of that was Josh Hart. The fact that they were up in this game because of the offensive rebounds and all the Josh Hart stuff that Josh Hart does. He had some negative plays too, but he was the player of the game. And the Cavs were just missing shots. And at one point, I think it was either the late third or early fourth quarter in this game, the Cavs were shooting like 23% from three. They ended up shooting 33%, and a lot of that's on Darius Garland, who went absolutely insane in the fourth quarter. For as great as Evan Mobley was on the defensive end, I think you have to give the player of the game to Garland because he was so good. But I digress. So there were reasons the Knicks were up in this game. Those reasons really did not have to do with the fact that the offense was particularly good. I want to say, before I go on, give credit to the Cavs defense. I thought, with all due respect to Boston, from what we saw from Boston on opening night, this is the best defense that the Knicks have seen. Granted, they've only seen two defenses before tonight, but this is the best defense the Knicks have seen this year. And honestly, I've been trying to watch a goodly amount of the early season basketball. The Cavs are as impressive as any defense that I've seen, maybe this side of Oklahoma City, so far in the early going, because Mobley is really just like he's taking a leap, I think, on both ends. But it definitely shows up on the defensive end. And just like their less heralded players are really digging in. Darius Garland especially I thought he was really good defensively tonight. You know, your Dean Wades of the world, and like even like some of their less heralded players, like George Niang made a great defensive stop at one point on OG Anunoby. Like, that's George Niang. You know, that's a mentality. You have buy-in or you don't, and right now the Cavs have buy-in. So again, give them credit. All that being said, I did not think the Knicks were doing a great job of putting pressure on them. And that brings us back to Towns. And that brings us back to this whole idea of, you got this guy to open up the offense. Okay, now what? And we've seen it in spurts. Like, we definitely see, like, okay, anytime the Knicks are 5 out or 4.5 out with Josh Hart in the game, and, there's a screen or whatever, and someone's out there guarding Towns, and a defense isn't locked in. Well, look, there's somebody streaking towards the basket. Well, this defense was locked in. Those plays weren't really there tonight. So what else are you going to do? What are you going to do when you have an offense or a defense that, much like Boston, was very comfortable switching everything? Now, the difference between the Cavs and the Celtics is that the Cavs or the Celtics switch everything and they're just totally fine with it. Like that, there's nothing that the Celtics switch where it creates a true matchup advantage for the other team, because all their defenders are versatile and very good. The Cavs were giving up in theory, good matchup advantages. But when they were giving up those switches and they were giving up those good matchup advantages, there was another one of their strong defenders kind of shading off over here, shading off over there. A lot of times it was Evan Mobley. So there's opportunities. But in order to fully exploit those opportunities, you got to move the ball. And the Knicks tonight had 22 assists on 40 made field goals. That's actually better than I thought they would have. For a while, their assist rate in this game, for a lot of this game, their assist rate was under 50, which is not obviously where you want to be. So how are you going to exploit teams that are giving you something, but maybe they're not giving you everything you want? And for tonight, a lot of it was just like a lot of Knicks going one-on-one. And yes, it was a lot of Jalen Brunson on a night when Jalen Brunson didn't have it. And you look up the final shot totals. Jalen Brunson shot it 24 times, 8 times in the fourth quarter. Hat tip to Andrew Claudio for that number. I did not realize that. And he only made 8. It was not his night. Now, am I ever going to criticize Jalen Brunson for shooting the ball? No, I'm not. I know that there are just completely and totally nonsensical conversations, not even conversations, just like people shouting at clouds, talking about, Jalen Brunson needs to elevate himself as like a true point guard, whatever the hell that is. Like, Jalen Brunson's a pretty darn good passer. You look at his assist rate last year, and I think it shows that. But he's small. And there are certain limitations that he has where he just doesn't see as much as bigger point guards see. That's always going to be there. That said, he could always be better, and he'll be the first person to tell you that. So I think tonight the balance was a little off. But again, is that because Jalen Brunson is being selfish? Is that because Jalen Brunson has guys like wide open, for a kick out three, and he's just blatantly ignoring them? No, it's not. Or at least I didn't see it. I'm sure there were a couple of those instances, but I don't feel like this is a selfishness problem, because I just don't think Jalen Brunson is a selfish player. I don't think he has a selfish bone in his body. I think he's a winner, and I think he more often than not thinks that a shot leaving his hand is the best chance of a shot going in. No, I think this is something that is larger than that. And I think it is, again, the necessity of everybody, including the coaching staff, to figure out how to get these guys to gel sooner rather than later. Now, should we be lamenting the fact that their offense looked like it did after this team has played 3 regular season games together against a defense for a team whose infrastructure has been together for the last, what is it, is this the 4th year of the Donovan? No, this is the 3rd year of the Donovan Mitchell era. So, no, is it? Yeah. It's the 3rd year. So, 3 years, going on 3 years. No, that's too much to expect, and it's not reasonable to expect that. Would have been nice to still get the win, but this is going to take time. So now the question becomes, okay, how do you figure that out? And more specifically, how do you figure out the Cat piece of it? Because there is no universe where Karl-Anthony Towns should ever play 32 minutes in a basketball game and Karl-Anthony Towns ends up with 8 shots, but again, it was really 7. As I just look at Benji's grades for tonight, and as he gives Towns a D+ and gives every other starter a better grade, although notably Brunson a C-, but like a lot of this is on Cat, and Cat has to figure out himself how to get himself involved, and that's going to be a challenge. And did it help that the moments that he had tonight, other than one really nice little jump hook over Evan Mobley, where he kind of demanded the ball and like posted up, like I thought he had some not great possessions. I also thought there were other possessions where he got the ball and just didn't really make anything happen with it. Now, just like I'm not going to sit here and kill Jalen Brunson for taking 24 shots, I'm not going to kill Karl-Anthony Towns either, because Karl-Anthony Towns is just like everybody is getting adjusted to this new offense. Towns is getting adjusted to his role on this team, and how much is too much and how much is not nearly enough. And when is he supposed to find his shots, and how is he supposed to, or what shots is he supposed to be taking? Now, again, because all of this stuff is connected, part of this is taking threes, and the Knicks, yet again, failed to crack 30 3-point attempts, I think. Yeah, 28 3-point attempts. They're going to be damn near bottom of the league after tonight in 3-pointers attempted per game. Again, not good enough. Needs to be better. None of this is news. I don't think any of this is controversial. The question is how, because it's not just simply, all right, guys got to jack out more threes. No, it's how do you generate good looks from 3? And I think that's where I could connect the 2 dots, because I think if the Knicks play this same game 3 months from now, hopefully it doesn't take that long, but just for, a while from now, a ways out, and the Cavs are doing all the switching and they're comfortable with it, I think the Knicks will become a team where those switches will generate open threes, or at least that has to be the hope. And then it's up to guys to be willing to take them. Now, you look at the 3-point attempts tonight. Towns took 2. Bridges 4, OG 4, Brunson 4, Hart. Again, things that should not ever be the case. Josh Hart should never have the second most 3-point attempts on your basketball team. I don't care who else is on your basketball team. He should not have the second most 3-point attempts on your team. If Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges are on your team, Josh Hart really shouldn't have the second most 3-point attempts. So everything's kind of out of whack right now. It's been 3 games. I still don't think we've ever seen the Knicks offense look particularly, like, really good, like, humming good. I thought they had some nice moments against Boston, and obviously they won the game against Indiana. But, like, I still think they're kinda searching, and they're still trying to figure it out. Um, on the defensive end, same thing, work in progress. Some good tonight, some bad tonight. If we're being honest, if the Cavs had even decent shooting luck on open threes from a lot of guys that, like, usually hit those, Knicks probably give up 120, 125 points tonight, if not more. So I think you could look at the defense and say the defense is just as much of a work in progress as the offense. And again, part of that is Towns. So again, it's all a learning process. For the first time tonight, Towns he faced 2 things tonight. One, he faced a relentless driver of the basketball in Donovan Mitchell. And Donovan Mitchell tonight only took 17 shots, and 8 of those were threes. So only 9 attempts inside the arc. Wasn't just him, but he's the main guy who drives it for them. Garland drove it a little bit too. 8 threes out of 19 attempts. And so it's a matter of, okay, after the like, if you're a low man, like, what can you do to prevent a good attempt? And just had some good moments, some not so good moments. But then the other side of it is when it's a center who's kind of going at you. And I thought Mobley went at him a little bit tonight. And I thought it was interesting in the fourth quarter. We're going to talk about Huckporty in a second. In the fourth quarter, when Cat came back into the game after he was out for a brief stint, it was not Towns on Mobley. It was OG on Mobley. And he actually made a nice defensive play and helped get a stop there in the final minutes. So, that's going to be interesting to watch moving forward, matchups in tight games late. There's just a lot to work on right now. As I just saw, this is again James Edwards III on Tibbs on where the game was lost. We missed some shots, gave up some easy ones in transition. That hurt us. So Tibbs not really in a talking mood tonight. That's a nothing answer. Yeah, and he knows it as well as anyone. There's a lot they need to figure out. There's another one from Tibbs, courtesy of James Edwards III. And this is about them not getting up enough threes. It's a combination of everything. We have to generate more. Sometimes it's a byproduct of deep paint decisions. Yeah. And sorry, one more part. Asked if how teams are defending or spacing issues causing, or asked him if how teams are defending or spacing issues causing low 3-point numbers. There's no answer there. I thought the deep paint decisions were terrible tonight. And it was not just Jalen Brunson, although there are a few from Brunson that I could certainly think of. A lot of times guys got into the paint and challenged the Cavs rim protection down low, and I did not work out well. So a lot of room for growth. How about that? I'm talking about like upward mobility. There's a lot of room to get better. That's a good thing. The tough thing is that, you look around the league and you look at some of the teams that are winning games. Like, I'm like, we'll do the full scoreboard later, but I'm looking at some of the teams who won games tonight, and it's a lot of competitive teams out there. So rest of this week, Miami and Detroit, like, neither of those games are gonna be easy. So got to learn on the fly. So before I move on to the super chats, I will give our autograph autograph signature moment of the game. And I'm going to give it to Ariel Huckporty, because Ariel Huckporty came in and it took Tibbs, seemingly, we'll see what happens in the next game, but it took Tibbs 2 games and 1 quarter to say, you know what? I want to see what this guy has instead of the incumbent Jericho Sims. And Ariel Huckporty came in, and I thought he played some really nice minutes. And more than that, his dunk that was overturned by, I thought, a ridiculous offensive foul. I get you can't challenge it because there's not enough to overturn it, but, like, come on, man. How do you call that? How do you call that in the moment? as an offensive foul. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I thought Huck Porty was really good. And that moment where he got that dunk was really cool. And I hope to see more from him. So that's your autograph signature moment of the game. Don't forget, go ahead and download the autograph app. You can find the link in my bio on pretty much any of my social pages, and go get rewarded for your fandom. And more than that, go and check out my Macri's 3-on-3, where I look back at 3 things from last week, and I preview 3 things ahead for this week. That is up on the autograph app right now. Okay. Next up, we are going to, as soon as I go ahead and pull up the old script. Yes, here we go. Okay. Where are we? There we are. Okay. Sorry. It takes me a minute sometimes. Y'all know that by now. We are going to do our betting and sweating segment presented by our friends at BetUS. If you're looking for a new book this basketball season, BetUS is the answer. Fastest payouts in the industry. Fast, easy deposit withdrawal process, 24/7 personalized service, best betting variety, 10% back on your net losses twice a year. Of course, use that promo code YouTube150, get 150% bonus on your first deposit, plus 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits, up to $2,000. Let us look, Kevin, hello, sir, at Andrew.
What's goody?
What's going on? At Andrew Claudio's betting and sweating picks for tonight. I'm going to pull up the box score to see how he did. So Josh Hart, he went over 27 combined points, rebounds, assists. That should be an easy over. I'm just wondering now because Hart left. Yeah, that was an easy over. That Hart went for 31 total, 16 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists. So good job there. Karl-Anthony Towns, at least 2 3-point field goals made. Cat, you got to take him. Got to take him to make him. So that's a loss. And then Dean Wade, at least 8 points. Dean Wade finishes this game with a 1 point. So he finished 7 shy. So Andrew Claudio goes 1 for 3, which is better than Aaron Jones doing these days. Once again, for that deposit bonus, use YouTube 150. That's the code. Get your 150% bonus on your first deposit, plus 125% on your next 2, up to $2,000. Remember, all gambling involves risk. Only gamble with funds you can afford to lose. All forms of betting carry financial risk, and it is down to the individual to make bets with or without the assistance of the information provided. Kevin.
Yes.
I am sure that there are not going to be any overreactions on the show tonight. Am I correct?
No. Of course,
no, I'm not correct.
This is the Knicks. I think we have a couple more slides though.
Oh, we do. What else do we have here? Oh my goodness.
We have Miami unveiling the Dwayne Wade statue. Now, I saw a little video clip, and Dwayne Wade looked like he was like clapping, but it wasn't really an enthusiastic clap. He says he liked the statue. I think it looks absolutely nothing like him. Looks like the head cop from like Brooklyn 911 or whatever that show is.
Don't watch the show. I know the reference. We got a Will Smith look here. Yeah, no, that's pretty good. I've seen a lot of them on the internet. Yeah, and I saw the person who made the statue defend it, saying nobody could do a better job. So that's an L for you, sir.
Oh, sure. And also, Mac, I know you don't like doing this, but everybody watching YouTube, hit the like button. Just like press the.
Yeah, no, absolutely hit the like button.
Press the like button. Share this post game live so all your friends can see that you're cool and in tune with KFS.
There you go. That's what it's all about.
All right, you ready for the super chats?
Yeah, no, I've never been ready.
All right.
Never been more ready. Never been more ready. I left out an important word. Never been more ready. Okay. We start out with Mr. Knicks 101. Hello, Mr. Knicks 101. Thank you for starting us off tonight. Don't remember who was out there during the third quarter for the Knicks, but never play that combination again. Cavs dominated and never looked back. So the one like little something, that I will give the Knicks, and it is a very small something, but it is something, is that Jalen Brunson did get hurt. So that lineup that was out there was no Karl-Anthony Towns, and it was no Jalen Brunson. The intention with Tom Thibodeau's substitution patterns is to have one of those guys out there pretty much at all times throughout the game, and that was not able to happen because, again, Brunson went down with the injury. That said, after Brunson went out, it was Cam Payne, who did not have a good game tonight, to be very clear. I praised Cam Payne a lot. He was not great tonight. Mikal Bridges, and it was a lot of Cam Payne. Towns did actually eventually come back in. So there's that, because he came back in for Huck Porty after a few minutes. So the lead had been trimmed to 6 by the time Towns came back in. So it was Towns, Bridges, Payne, McBride, and I want to say Josh Hart. So you're relying on Payne to direct the offense there. Did not do a good enough job. You're relying on Cat and Mikal Bridges to generate offense there. I would say neither of them did a good enough job. And you're relying on Josh Hart to like just make stuff happen. And that's where I thought Josh Hart like did a good job, but it was not enough. And it's just, I want to go back and watch that segment because it was like particularly poor offense. But yeah, I mean, look, they're going to play that unit again. Like they only have 8. They're only playing 8 guys right now. I know they played 9 tonight, but like it was really an 8-man rotation because Huck Porty essentially replaced Sims. With 8 men, like you're going to like, and honestly, they should be playing a lot of these lineups more because the more you play them, the more chemistry they're going to develop, and that's a good thing. Thanks, Mr. Knicks. CC Kirby, what's going on, CC? I thought officiating for both teams was weak. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and complain about the officiating in this game, but like you said, it was bad for both sides. At the end of the day, a good Brunson game wins this for us. Yeah, got to put it in perspective. This was, though this loss frustrated the hell out of me in the moment. It was there are levels of frustration. Like some losses, like I just don't like rarely, but some losses don't really bother me. This was definitely frustrating. Because it's all so new and because the Cavs are so like they have so much chemistry, they've been playing together for so long, and I just thought they really played a really great fourth quarter. I'm annoyed. I frustrated the hell out of is a little bit stronger than I'd be willing to go. I agree with you. A good Brunson game wins them the game. I mean, if Brunson is like himself for the majority of the game, if they might not have been up by 13, they might have been up by 20. That's the part that really bugs me. But again, it's like we're so reliant on on Jalen Brunson to be special. But then again, that's why we advocate for him to be an MVP, or a genuine MVP candidate. He hasn't really played like it as of yet this season, but I'm sure it's coming. Thank you, CC. Appreciate that, man. Hi, Zoo. Losing Josh Hart is going to hurt us. I hope he's okay. Yeah, it would hurt them a lot. Like, even there was a possession, and it's one play. But, like, I forget if it was Darius Garland or no, it was Darius Garland. It was Garland in the fourth quarter coming down the stretch. Took Deuce McBride into the post and hit a little. It was kind of like sort of like almost a post up over McBride, and it was a really nice shot. But like, if Josh Hart's in the game, that doesn't really happen because you don't have that matchup advantage. But and again, that's not to say that Deuce McBride is a poor defender. He's not. But like, size is always going to be a limitation. And so, yeah, they need Josh Hart, but they don't need Josh Hart for size on defense. They need Josh Hart for all the things that Josh Hart does that you saw tonight that were exceptional. And he's just a winning player, and he cares about winning so much. That's all he cares about. So he doesn't care about scoring, even though he did that pretty well tonight. Thanks, Josh. Dom Cappuccini, tell me Mikal can't be an all-star on this team. I'd be surprised. I don't think. I mean, maybe the scoring could be there. Man, it's really tough to be an all-star. It's really, really tough. All you have to do is like go through the East, and you're gonna get you get to 12 pretty fast. And I know there's injury replacements, but like, I'm not saying he can't. To be very clear, I'm not saying he can't. But he's not the level of scorer, or he's not the level of offensive force, because he could score, but he's not that level of playmaker. I don't know. I'd love to be wrong. I wouldn't bet on it right now. If you're asking me, does Mikal Bridges ever make an all-star team with the Knicks? I'd probably bet no. But I don't know about that. Ever? Maybe make one, maybe. I don't see it this year. Thanks, Tom. Robert W. Cross. Hello, Robert. Foul call on Huckporty was crap. Grumpy. I know you're grumpy. The Knicks are 1-2. And you predicted them to win, I think, 78 games. So, you're halfway to your loss total already. They'll be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. One of my preseason predictions that I wrote, I think 3 weeks before the season started, I'm pretty sure I wrote it before they ever played a preseason game, was that there will be an early season crisis point where people will be like frantic about this basketball team. And I think it might come sooner rather than later. I mean, that you want to talk about a game that all of a sudden is going to have a little bit of pressure on it? How about that Miami game? And if God forbid they lose that Miami game, how about that Detroit game on Friday? No one's going to feel bad for this team. No one's going to give them extra time for the chemistry to work itself out. They got to figure it out ASAP. Thanks, Robert. Mr. Fabro. What's going on, Mr. Fabro? We need to take more threes. Yeah. It goes without saying, but you can't, again, no forced shot is a good shot. You have to generate them in the flow of the offense. So how are you doing that? How are you finding threes? How are you finding good threes? How are you finding nice, open, catch and shoot threes? I think it probably doesn't help that no one other than Deuce McBride is shooting particularly well from deep in the early going this season. I don't know that there's anybody on this team, again, aside from Deuce, that is taking threes with a ton of confidence. That's not great. But like when anybody gets an open catch and shoot opportunity, they take it. It's just there hasn't been enough of those, and that's because they're not generating enough. That's why I'm nitpicking, but it's the phrasing. It's not like, to me, it's like we need to generate more threes. That's the key. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kev? How you doing, man? Obviously need to get Cap more than 8 shots and need to take more threes. I think the answer is a more heliocentric approach with JB's gravity creating threes. So you want to kind of lean more into the one-on-one stuff. Like, just let Jalen go to town. The reason I'm a little trepidatious about that is a couple reasons. One, the heliocentric approaches that we've seen in recent years, featuring most prominently Luka Doncic recently, and before him, James Harden. And if you want to throw Trae Young in there too, I'll throw Trae Young in there too because he's had the 40 usage rate. Like that's a thing. Those guys are all like those guys have all spent time as like top 3 to 5 passers in the league. That's not Jalen Brunson. It's never going to be Jalen Brunson. So that's why I think you need to do more like stuff. Now, at the end of the day, like this is Tibbs. We know he likes to keep things simple, and I think that's because he believes players like to keep things simple, in part. And also, simple works a lot of the time. Like get 2 on the ball, make the right pass. Well, the Knicks weren't getting 2 on the ball tonight. That's the problem. They were getting switches. They were not getting 2 on the ball. So again, what do you do? What do you do when you get the switch? Do you just take the shot? And that's the other part of it is like, okay, they were getting the switch. Well, if you keep working the switch and you work it, you get more penetration. Evan Mobley's going to be there, or Jared Allen's going to be there. So, like in a way, when you put it like that, they kind of played right into the Cavs' hands tonight. But you say, all right, well, instead of working it in, kick it out. I think there were probably more opportunities to kick it out. And I want to go back and rewatch. They just have to be better. When those opportunities come, you got to find them. And once you find them, whoever catches the ball, got to be willing right away. Thanks, Kev. Charlie Boy Third, what's going on, man? Appreciate the very generous contribution. Thank you. Hey, John. We've been spoiled watching Mitch and iHeart defend the last few years. You're goddamn right we have been. Cat takes away nothing when he's playing and drop. It's what makes me feel like Tibbs will definitely play Mitch and Cat together when he's back. So this is going to be the hill I'm going to die on. It's going to be the hill I'm going to die on because I feel like I'm not saying that they will never play together. To be very clear, not saying they're never going to play together. But all of this stuff we're talking about how to generate more threes and how to get more efficient offense and how to do all these different things, like all of those possibilities go away with Mitchell Robinson. Now, I want to be very clear about this. And this is going to sound like I'm shitting on Mitch. And I don't really know what to say in my own defense, but I'm just going to say the thing, which is that it's not just that Mitch can't shoot. It's that Mitch is not skilled. And if Isaiah Hartenstein was still on this team and you wanted to make this argument to me, I would say, you know what? Now you're playing 4D chess. Because if you have Isaiah Hartenstein out there, there are ways, and God knows we saw it last year, for you to generate real spacing, even if you have like that non-shooter out there, because God knows they found ways to generate spacing when they had 3 non-shooters out there at times, and they figured out a way. So it's not like it can't be done, especially when you have incredibly skilled offensive players. Mitchell Robinson is such a zero when it comes to the skill portion of the game, and so then it's like, well, we'll make up for it with his offensive rebound. Well, okay, make up for it with his offensive rebound. That's not helping your offense. That's after the fact. That's after you've already missed the shot. The whole goal here is to generate the sort of offense where you're making the vast majority, like more shots than you're missing and getting good attempts. So that's where I'm pushing back on this. I get that Cat was poor tonight defensively. I get that him in drop is not a great look. He made a few good defensive plays tonight, I thought, and he's made some good defensive plays throughout the season. I think this is more a challenge to figure out how the Knicks can utilize the fact that they will have 3 above average to elite perimeter defenders on the floor at all times, or should at least, when Karl-Anthony Towns is out there. How do you make that? How do you utilize that? And that, much like the offense is still a work in progress, to me, that part of the defense is very much still a work in progress. I am 1000% in favor of figuring that out rather than going the other way and putting Mitch out there with Towns. And to me, that would be, forget an admission of failure. It would just be a step backwards. And I just don't, that's not where I want to exist if I'm the Knicks moving forward. But that's me. Reasonable minds may differ. Thank you, Charlie Boy Third. Appreciate that, man. Rich McLeod, 20 to 30 games. Yeah. I'd sign for it. I mean, if you told me right now that like after 30 games, like this team is going to look like it is capable of looking, and if you tell me that they could be, I don't know, could be 17 and 13 after 30 games. But I know after 30 games, I'm getting the version of this team that I think is capable of existing. Yeah, I'd sign for that. Let's see if we get there. Might take longer. I don't know. Sam Garcia got to get Cat more shots and take more threes overall. It's going to be the talking points of the night. So, yes. Thanks, Sam. Juanon, what's going on? Juanon, call me crazy, but I would much rather Pat Bev than campaign on this roster. I think we're missing a bit of that crazy. We need a Kenyon Sheed level psycho in Cat's ear for him to thrive. Hashtag fire tips. I don't know. I kind of have a soft spot for campaign. I thought he was bad tonight. And I was praising him early on. I don't know if you were watching along with us on YouTube because the offense, again, I thought it looked tentative. And the one thing that campaign is not when he comes in the game is he is not tentative. And I thought I liked that. And I generally still like that. I thought tonight during his second stint in the game in the second half, I thought that balance got out of whack. And I thought he was just like too much looking for a shot. Again, the guy attempted 7 shots in 10 minutes, and he's the point guard out there. And he is like, I don't know if for every one of his 10 minutes, but for like the majority of his 10 minutes, he was at best the third best, most like skilled offensive player on the floor and probably the fourth. So, but I think he's feisty on defense. I weirdly trust his 3-pointer. Like if you give that guy an open catch and shoot 3, I feel like he's going to hit it a lot. He shoots it confidently. So I'm going to push back on that. I hear what you're saying about Pat Bev. I've always liked Pat Bev. I think Pat Bev's not playing in the NBA right now for a reason. Thanks, Juno. Hutsu. Very disappointing Cat performance defensively. Brunson offensively bad. Cat needs to get more than 7 shots. Feels like we didn't use space properly. I would argue that they didn't actually have all that much space tonight. Because the only way that you get the space is if the team does not concede the switch. And the Cavs were conceding switches left and right tonight. Not always. And there were some times where the Knicks had space. But again, give the Cavs credit. There were a lot of times during this game where I thought the Knicks had space, and that space closed up in a millisecond because the Cavs were just all over the place. I think the Cavs came in tonight. I think they wanted to exercise some demons. I think this team knows that the Knicks think they have their number. And I thought they came out like a team that team was confident. Like they were down 13, and I thought they were still playing confidently. They never deviated from their game plan. I cannot be more impressed with a team than I was by the Cavs tonight. Really, really, really great performance. I know we're focusing on the Knicks as we should. It's Knicks Film School. I get it. Really nice game on both ends. And if they just hit open shots, they would have scored 125 points easily. Thanks, Hush. Busy was watching along with us tonight. If your second best offensive player only gets 7 shots, hashtag fire tips for not getting him more involved. Cavs would switch and our wings would forget the mismatch is on both ends, not just theirs. Yeah, saw it a lot. I mean, there were quite a few instances where Cat had a small on him. And for as many times, and there were maybe not many, there were times where the Cat got the ball and didn't do much with it. I think there were a lot more times, to your point, Busy, where Cat had a blatant mismatch and the Knicks just didn't get him the ball. And I wonder if that's because they were just like, all right, well, it's a mismatch inside the arc. So if it's a mismatch inside the arc and Cav's going to back that player down, well, then once he gets to whatever, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet, something like that, well, then you're just going to get one of those rim protectors coming over and being ready to give the help or whether it's a double or coming in for the block when he puts up a shot or whatever the case may be. So again, the challenge is, all right, well, knock over that next domino, draw that help, and then figure out what to do next. And you can't get to point C before you get to point B. And they didn't get to point B a lot tonight. You know? Yeah, it's a great observation, Busy. Kevin Danishevsky with another one. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you, man. Very few corner 3 attempts so far. Yeah. Very few. There were some, but I mean, this is a team that was among the most prolific corner 3-point shooting teams in the league last year. They were top 10 in terms of frequency. I want to say they were like 7th or 8th. Got a ton of corner 3s last year. Not a lot this year. I don't know if OG has gotten a non-heavily contested corner look. I'm not sure either off the top of my head. Jeremy was on it. Please no more spacing. Please no more non-spacing big man with Josh Hart minutes. Look, the notion that they like completely went away from that, like a formula that worked, and now they're like this is crazy. I get that they did generate a lot of corner 3s last year, and that was good for their offense. I still got to believe there's a higher ceiling with the offense that they have now. We have not seen it yet. They're going to figure out other ways to generate good looks. You have to believe that. You just have to. You have to trust the skill. You have to trust the players. You have to trust the coaching staff. Just 3 games. Thanks, Kev. Makai Jedi. What's going on, Makai? Disappointing because the Knicks didn't lose a single game last season leading by double digits. Was it double digits or was it 15 points? Someone's got to double check that for me because I know the stat you're talking about. New York Basketball tweeted it out, I think, over the summer or towards the end of last year or maybe before. I don't know. I saw the stat. I thought it was leading by 15. If it was double digits or more, then I stand corrected. But like, yeah, regardless, your point is a good one because this team last year, like when they had a lead, like if you were going to take that lead from them, you were going to have to pry it from their cold, dead hands. And tonight when the Cavs took that lead, it just felt easy. You know, it felt easy. It felt a lot easier than it ever would have felt last year. Anyway, but there are flashes of greatness. Chemistry awful now, but it's close. 2010 Heat took a while too. All teams that like get put together like this, it takes time. It takes time. And you don't think it's going to take time because you're like, these are wildly talented offensive players and they're unselfish. And like McCall's played with obviously JB and Hart, and like Towns has played for Cat. And like, you want to talk yourself into all these reasons why it's not going to take as much time as it's going to take. But like at the end of the day, every team is a unique organism. So, yeah, disappointing in the way they lost, disappointing in the performances, but they're gonna they're going to figure it out. I think you got to believe that. Thanks, Mackay. John Leary, what's going on? John, how many injury scares will we get these last 2 years? Not enough threes, lack of depth showed tonight, in my opinion. Sims benched. Is Hart good? Thanks. Is Hart good? Oh, you mean I'm going to choose to believe that you mean like is Hart okay? Because I'm certainly not entertaining a question of whether Josh Hart is good. Yeah, I hope Josh Hart's okay. I don't know. The injury scares suck. I don't know that there's anything to attribute them to other than like Jalen Brunson got someone bumped into his knee, you know. Josh Hart got like taken out, like he was going after a fumble on a football field. Like the shit sucks. It just happens. As far as the lack of depth, I don't know. I thought it was poor. I think tonight was poor execution, poor chemistry. Like I didn't feel the lack of depth tonight myself. Again, reasonable minds may differ on that. That's not. I'm not hanging this one on the depth hook. Yeah. Thanks, John. Quick quote here before we get to Hush's comment. As good as Carl is, this is from Jalen Brunson. Sorry. And courtesy of the New York Basketball Twitter account. As good as Carl is, no one can really take him out of a game. It's on us. It's on me as a teammate to make sure we're all on the same page and everyone's eating. I got to be better when it comes to that. I got to adjust and I got to see. Yeah. Yes. And that's exactly what you want Jalen Brunson to say. Like, just it is what it is. And then this is Brunson on Josh Hart. It's per Steve Popper. Of course, anybody that doesn't finish the game, it's hard to see, and you want your brothers out there finishing the game with you. I mean, we'll see. I don't know what's the situation, but we'll see moving forward. Thibodeau said he was told it was a bruise. We'll see about that. Hush. I might need to rewatch, but I don't know if it was great defense by the Cavs, but Brunson on so many drives seemed like he was indecisive on what to do. I thought that was one of the 10 worst Brunson games I've seen. I'm trying to think if I want to say since the beginning of the calendar year. Let's go with that. It's one of the 10 worst Brunson games I've seen since the beginning of the calendar year. And I don't think that's controversial at all. I thought his decision-making was poor. I thought he just shot poorly. But he had some nice defensive moments, actually, interestingly enough. I thought he had a couple good moments there. But, you know, he's not paid to play defense. I'll tell you that. So, yeah. And I think I think the defense, the Cavs defense, I don't know if I want to say it hadn't spooked, but like I thought it may have gotten in his head a little bit by the end. Sure. The 77. What's going on, man? Stop TJ. Oh, stop the excuses. Brunson played selfish. Simple. Yeah, I'm going to disagree. I don't think it's that simple. I think Brunson is a guy that he's a scorer. So like at what point is a scorer selfish, and at what point is a scorer like doing the thing that he is excellent at and better at than like all but like, I don't know, 2 or 3 people in the league. Selfishness to me is a state of mind. Selfishness is I want to take this shot because I want these points. I think every time, any play that Jalen Brunson makes on a basketball court at either end of the floor, his only concern is I want to do what is going to give my team the best chance to win this possession. That's not selfish. If he's taking to take shots with that mentality, I don't think that's selfish. You could have better vision. You can have better decision-making processes. Maybe it's I don't know, it might be semantics to you. It sure is not semantics to me, because I could think of 100 adjectives that I think described Jalen Brunson or describe Jalen Brunson. Selfish would not be among the first 100 that I would use. I do. Also, I'd like to see Mikal initiate the offense from time to time rather than only feeding him in the post. Only game 3, though. Ticking time bomb. Let's go Knicks. So when you say initiate the offense, basically you mean run, pick, and roll, because that's what it means to initiate the offense in the NBA today. Run, pick, and roll. I wrote about this in the newsletter a little bit today, because I thought he had a nice pass to OG Anunoby for 3 in the Pacer game. What I didn't write about today, and what I maybe will at some point, is I've started to go back and watch a lot of Mikal's assists from his late in his Phoenix days. Haven't really had much time yet to watch a lot of like the Brooklyn tape. I want to get there. He's like, his assists are, I'm not going to call them like basic, but he's much more of a connector than an initiator, or he has been throughout his career, more of a connector than an initiator. Now, he is an elite connector, I would say. Maybe that's an overstatement, but I think he's really good. I think he's a really good connector. Is there more initiation that he can get to? I think that's one of the questions that we want to ask about this team, and one of the things that'll determine this team's ceiling. We'll take 1 or 2 more, and then when we get to the hour mark, I'll go ahead and I will do the around the league scoreboard. Freeway Hustler, the call on Huck, pure effing garbage. That would have put energy in the building and into the team. The guy swatted arms all the time when going up to dunk on somebody. I agree. I think it was a terrible call. It's terrible, but it wasn't so terrible that Tibbs challenged it, because I think he knew it wouldn't have been overturned. And I think in a close game there, I think you probably do want to save your challenge just in case, and you don't want to make a point with your challenge. Like, you can't use your challenge to make a point there. You have to save it for if you actually need it. But I completely agree with you, and I loved seeing that, which is why I gave it my autograph signature moment of the game. So yeah, it sucked. It was unfortunate, and what can you do? Thanks, Freeway Hustler. One more, and then we'll do the out of town scoreboard. Johnny Hirsch. I don't see any comment or question here, but thank you for the contribution. If Johnny makes a comment or question, Kev, please go ahead and get it up there. Okay. We are now going to do the out of town scoreboard very quickly, presented by our friends at T-Squared Social. As a reminder, you can come and watch all of, not all of your Knicks games, but many of your Knicks games with us at T2 on 42nd Street, just down the block from Grand Central Station. We will be there again this Friday. Yes, this Friday, when the hopefully 2-2 Knicks will take on the Detroit Pistons in Detroit. We will get things kicked off around 5:30, 6 o'clock, like that, probably 5:30. I'll try to get there. Again, Juan Please, our friends from Juan Please will be there. That beverage, of course, will be on sale if you would like to be like me and enjoy only 1 gram of sugar. But they also have all kinds of other stuff, duck pin bowling, simulations. It's great food, great everything. So come check out Knicks Film School this Friday at T-Squared Social, or just go there anytime you want. Okay, out of town scoreboard. Magic in a 50-point, I think he ended up with a 50-point triple-double. If it wasn't a triple-double, it was close. Game for Paolo Banchero. Magic beat the Pacers. Pacers now 1-3. Magic looking good in the early season. Wizards upended the Hawks in Atlanta for their first win of the season. Wizards had looked atrocious through 2 games. Celtics upended the Bucks. The Bucks, another team now, 1-3, 3 losses in a row. And Celtics needed a big game from Peyton Pritchard, of all people, to win that game tonight. Heat upended the Pistons. Pistons now 0-4. Again, we're playing them on Friday. Nuggets needed overtime to beat the Raptors. The Raptors were up that entire game, and I was trying to keep my eye on how they got to overtime. I didn't see the play that got them to overtime. The Nuggets, I mean, because they were down in the closing moments and tied it up, and then ended up that's I'm sure was a heartbreaker for the Raptors. Bulls over the Grizzlies, the feisty Bulls. Another loss for the Grizz. Second loss of the season for them. Rockets beat the Spurs. And then the Mavericks beat the Jazz. Tough moment in the Jazz game. I believe Taylor Hendrickson went off with what apparently was a pretty rough injury. And then a couple games going on right now. But that is your out-of-town scoreboard for net right now, presented by T-Squared Social. Okay, let us continue with the home stretch. Kevin Danishevsky with another one. Hello, Kevin. Again, thank you for your generosity, as always, my friend. Good news is everything seems fixable and not many macro concerns. The Knicks are a smart organization. They know more threes. Cat involvement is needed. Garland is available in fantasy. Why, thank you for that reminder. Yeah, I have faith in the organization. I have faith in the roster. They always start slow. This is not a new thing. There's nothing going on that we're seeing that's not fixable. I know everybody's frustrated. I know it's like, this stuff seems obvious. Shoot more threes, get count more shots. Like, yeah. If it was obvious, they would do it, but it's a process. So thanks, Kev. Andrew Claudio, a quick pause in our post-game panic session to wish KFS new kid on the block, Jeff J, a very happy birthday. Yes. Happy birthday, Jeff. Jeff has been hosting, for anybody who doesn't know, our Casual Friday show this year. We've been doing it live, so you can tune in and enjoy that yourselves when it's happening on YouTube on Fridays. We generally do it earlier in the day, but you could always just check our socials for when we're doing those. But yes, happy birthday, Jeff. I don't know how old you are. I won't ask how old you are. But you look like a very young man, and my advice to you would be to enjoy that youth and do not let it be wasted on the young. As they say, it often is. Thank you, Andrew. Alex, John said trepidatious. I did, didn't I? I did. Who does he think he is? That's a great question. Clyde, and John, pick another hill. Good threes come off offensive rebounds too. Don't poop on Mitch. I'm not trying to poop on Mitch. Look, Alex, you know where I'm coming from, so I'm not going to take the bait fully here. I'm going to die on the hill. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Will we get a chance to find out if I'm wrong? Will we see a lot of minutes with Mitch and Cat? I don't know. If we do, then I'm wrong because I just don't think that's where this is headed. But I guess at the end of the day, I have more faith than a lot of people do that this team is going to be able to be an above average defense. And I think if the offense works like it should work, being an above average defense is going to be enough. So, and I think they get there. Thanks, Alex. Scott Phillips, what's going on, Scott? Knicks going to be hot and cold for a while, hoping for more Pacers games than Cavs games, though. Yeah, I mean, the thing that was annoying tonight is you got lucky for 3 quarters. You got really lucky with some really bad Cavs shooting luck because they just were not making anything and there were a lot of good looks in there. So you want to try to take advantage of those lucky games. The problem is that they weren't hitting threes. And again, as everybody has pointed out, they didn't take enough threes to give themselves a real chance. So I guess if I was to put the most frustrating part of tonight in one sentence, I would say they did not give themselves the best chance to take advantage of good luck. And that is something that we could all agree is a product of the adjustment with the new roster. but it is also not something we ever said about last year's team. And I think that's what's frustrating right now. Is like last year's team, like it should go without saying they find a way to win this game. I haven't said that yet because I don't know if it needs to be said, but I think last year's team finds a way to win this game somehow. You know, that's frustrating. Bernard Richardson, what's going on, Bernard? Thanks for joining us in the playback tonight. Hey, John, the chat thinks RJ's Knicks are better than this team. Thoughts? It's Kev's telling me we got 3 more super chats, so I'm gonna not take the bait here. Let's say this. I thought last year's team, or the team that would have last year's team, their floor was so high. I don't think any of the RJ teams, even whatever RJ team you want to pick an RJ team. I don't think that floor was ever quite as high as the post OG trade team. I would argue it's probably not even close, but whatever. Reasonable ones could differ. It had a high floor though, because they knew what they were going to do. They were dependable. You kind of knew what you were going to get for the most part. RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, not exactly the most consistent offensive players in the world, but I digress. The floor right now may be a little low for a lot of people's liking, unless this thing is just a failure of proportions that I can't fathom right now. I really genuinely don't think people are prepared for how high the ceiling of this team can be. Now it's just on them to get there. And that's what wins in the NBA. To win a championship, you got to go for the highest ceiling possible. That's what it's all about. Thanks, Bernard. Robert W. Cross. What's going on, Robert? First time, long time. It's your boy, John. What do you think is the most important thing for the JB Cat duo? The most important thing? Time. Reps. That's it. It's not complicated. It's time. It's reps. There's not one. I wouldn't even know how to answer that question. It's time and reps, and willingness. But I think I don't question that the willingness is there. I think the willingness is there on all sides. But they got to get adjusted, and they will. They'll figure it out. Thanks, Robert. Because that's it. I mean, the last thing, and this should go without saying, I don't know. Sorry, I know we have Drew P's comment. I'm going to get to Drew P's comment in a second. I haven't said this explicitly, and I'll say it now. For as talented as Cat is, and as impactful as he is on a team's offense, he is a tricky piece to figure out how to optimize. You know? Because unless you just want him being a spacer, which that's not what he wants to be, that's not what they want him to be. It's gonna take a little time. I think I think maybe with Porzingis, how easy it was for him to integrate with Boston last year. And Holiday, for that matter. I think those guys are easier offensive pieces because, again, KP was fine just doing nothing but taking threes with the occasional post up. They didn't have to rework anything. This Knicks team, it feels like they are kind of reworking stuff from how things existed last year. So, yeah. And also, just again, a really good defensive performance tonight. All right, next up, we got a couple more. Drew P. If Huck Porty is good, Sexton for oh my God, who are we doing? Sexton for Mitchell Robinson and Precious Achiuwa interests me. I don't know why this team would trade for a guard, a defensively. I shouldn't say defensive. He's a feisty guard, but it's like he's Deuce of Pride defensively. He's if that. And I just don't think that's where this team needs to be trading for. I think if this team is going to make a trade, I think they're going to trade for ideally another like big-ish wing. Those guys aren't exactly easy to come by. Also, why in God's name would Utah have any interest in Mitchell Robinson and Precious Achiuwa for Colin Sexton? Colin Sexton's a good player. I don't see that. Thanks, Drew. And I like Colin Sexton. I've advocated for trading for Colin Sexton in the past. It's nothing against Colin Sexton, but the way this team is built right now, I don't see trading for a guy who's like not going to play with Jalen Brunson in crunch time. I don't see it. Numa Puma, what's going on, Numa Puma? Crazy how we haven't learned the nightly ups and downs of a long 82-game season. Mid-January, this team is surpassing expectations. Bet, go Knicks. I mean, I don't know if that's our last super chat of the night, but I like ending there because truer words, in my opinion, have never been spoken. We got one more. So, but like, yeah, like it's 3 games, 3 out of 82. 3 out of 82. Thanks, Numa Puma. And this is the last one. Positive. Mikal's mid-range game looks unreal. Yeah, okay, good. We still end on a positive. So I like that. Thank you, Kevin Danishevsky, for ending us on a up note. And thank you, everybody out there, for watching another episode of the Knicks Film School postgame show. We appreciate everybody out there for tuning in. We would appreciate it even more if you guys hit the like button on the YouTube show that you're watching right now, or if you are listening in podcast form at a later time, feel free to leave us a 5-star review. If you are someone that listens to the show a lot and you're like, never left a rating, a 5-star rating, never left a review, maybe today's the day you do it. Why not? What does it hurt you? It's like 30 seconds. That's all it takes. And that stuff helps us out a lot. We will be back with more fun and games very soon. We got a pregame pod featuring Andrew Claudio talking to his frenemy down there in Miami, Giancarlo, which everybody will enjoy. And then I'll be back on the postgame on Wednesday night. Hopefully talk about a win against the hated Miami Heat. But for tonight, that is it. And we will talk to you soon. Peace out.